Hello everybody, welcome to Off My Bridge Season 2. My name is Guy and we are talking all things Star Trek. Now, what a way to start the year with a new Star Trek series, Star Trek Academy. And I am sure that you, if you are like me, and I'm fairly certain you are, you have seen the thousands of posts on all social media arguing for and against Starfleet Academy. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are like meh, some people are like yeah, some people are like meh. Some people are complaining about the number of episodes that there are going to be, only 10. It is the standard format, unfortunately. Some people are complaining about this, some people are complaining about that. Well, this is my review on Star Trek Academy, and I'm going to be scoring it. So there is a number behind this, and I'm going to look at 5 different divisions that I think constitute a great series. Now, if you do like this idea, hit that like button, or the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, or the bell button, which should then notify you when new episodes of Off My Bridge launch. So, with that out of the way, let's jump straight into it. Now, first category that we're going to be looking at is the setting. What is the setting? Is it something new? Is it something old? Is it something expected? How is the setting contributing to our Star Trek feeling? Well, we have the USS Athena, and I think that this was a stroke of genius on behalf of the creators of the show. Why? The USS Athena not only is a starship and a gorgeous starship from the 32nd century in terms of design and that sort of thing, but she is also the actual Starfleet Academy and can land on the Academy grounds in San Francisco and become a building. What this does is it gives us effectively the best of both worlds. We have a fixed location, which is on Earth, so we get all of those wonderful Earth episodes. At the same time, we can go out into space and we can explore. Then from a narrative perspective, the burn has just happened, I should say, and all warp travel kind of collapsed, and we're at the beginning of the new Federation, if you will, at the founding of the new Federation. And we already see that in episode 2, where they are trying to rebuild the Federation. So everything that Discovery was kind of edging towards, was trying to explore, we're now seeing come to fruition in Starfleet Academy. And so as a result, it kind of makes Discovery a stronger series as a result. That's a win, in my opinion. Anything that helps enhance our Star Trek narrative, I think, is a good thing. About the setting of Starfleet Academy and the humor that's in it. We've already seen how, with Strange New Worlds, the humor episodes are the ones that everyone talks about, whereas the serious ones where everyone's crying and being all emotional and stuff, well, they're just more episodes of people being overly emotional, really. They make the comedy episodes better, and the comedy episodes make them better as a result. Starfleet Academy has certainly leaned into the Lower Decks style of humor, which, and I will raise my hand, I didn't want to watch Lower Decks because I didn't like the amount of irreverence that there was towards the command structure within the Starfleet environment. And now I'm kind of going, you know what, you old fossil, move with the times. Strange New Worlds has given us some serious episodes. Discovery gave us super large doses of serious episodes. And to be quite frank with you, I would rather sit and watch Star Trek where I am watching going, okay. Oh my God, ha 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 ha. That's so funny. That is so cool. That is so lovely. That is really great. The setting wise, I give it of a score out of 5. I give it a score of 4 because I think the setting is pretty damn strong. Next up, we are looking at the story. Does the story give us something that we want to know more about? Are there hints at some bigger thing going on? Are there lots of little things going on? What's going on? Well, in Starfleet Academy, we have this ancient old story of the kid who's a rebel and doesn't want to be part of the academy and wants to find his mom, and then the mentor who's dragging him in and is going to make him into a better person. We've seen that already in Lower Decks, so that's kind of weak. Do we care about the lead character finding his mother and that sort of thing? Not particularly. I mean, he's either going to find her or he's not going to find her. There isn't any tension there. There's no drama there. They didn't have very much time to build up any kind of relationship. We didn't really notice whether she was there or not. It's like, meh. Okay, this gives you your darker edge. I am much more interested in knowing what's going on in Starfleet Academy. Look at all that cool stuff, the courses, the conflicts between the cadets. That's where the real story is. And we've got such wonderful cadets and such wonderful stories and potential conflicts between them. It's like, this is where the story is. Forget that whole search thing, which is going to constantly drive conflict. At some point, he's going to steal the Starfleet Academy and go off looking for his mother and then be all repentant. And it's like, no, we have seen this again and again. Michael Burnham being the rebel. It's like, come on, guys, move forward, move on. There are other stories to tell other than the renegade who's supposedly on the right path of, no. Of a score out of 5 for story, I'm going to give Starfleet Academy a 2. Story is nothing without the characters. So now we look at the characters themselves, and they've got a huge cast. When we look at characters from a design perspective, we look at their proactivity. How proactive are they in doing stuff? Do they take initiative or do they sit back and not do anything? We look at their competency. How good are they at doing what they do? And is there room for growth? And then we look at their likability. So do they have attributes that make us want to like them? Or do they kick puppies when they're, sleeping? The puppies, that is, not when the person who's kicking the puppy is sleeping, because that would make kicking the puppy difficult and out of their control. Anyway, we look at those 3 factors. Caleb Meir he's very proactive. He is constantly breaking out of prisons. He is trying to escape. He's trying to get back to his mother. He's trying to take over the academy. He's trying to do his own thing. So proactivity, he is maxed out on proactivity. He could not be more proactive than he is in the show. Competency. Well, for a teenager or an early 20-something character, he is incredibly competent. Not only can he escape from maximum security prisons at the age of 5, but he can escape from almost anything at any age and beat up 3 well-trained guards, or even incompetently trained guards. He made an absolute mockery of them, and this is in episode 1, by the way. So his proactivity score is through the roof. And then you go likability. Is he a grumpy grouch? Is he a self-obsessive, darkly morose character? No, he makes friends and he sticks up for the little people. So he is a perfect character. What does this mean for us as the audience? It means there is 0 growth for Caleb Meir. He can't grow. He can't get better. He can't learn to be nicer. He cannot learn to let others help him, although that was hinted at in the show, and then they did it anyway and he was impressed. So they can't grow any further. So Caleb Meir is a dead end. There is nothing really left for us to explore there. Oh, he has his angst about sharing his feelings with others. Again, not a major character journey. You compare that with other characters and you go, well, let's look at some other individuals who we could compare him with. Picard, incredibly proactive, incredibly competent. Likeable? Absolutely not. He was just, but he was a stickler for the rules. He purposefully kept himself away from the crew. Janeway was exactly the same thing. She frequently overruled her first officer and other officers, as a matter of fact. She was very stubborn. And so you kind of go, okay, where is Caleb Meir's story going? Nowhere. What about the Chancellor, Aki? Aki has a better journey to go on. She is proactive. She is competent. She has some likable qualities to her, but she bucks authority. She resigns when things get too tough. She doesn't wear shoes. Not that that's a thing, that's a quirk, but it's a quirk that endears us more to her. And she's trying to right a wrong which she cannot right. She cannot undo the past. So that gives her this wonderful task that, well, she's just saddled with. How is that going to affect her future? So there's some interesting questions there. The rest of them, the characters, you're kind of going, okay, well, we get hints of them. The only character, in my opinion, who really stands out as someone who's got a character story that I really want to know more about is Jaden Cragg, the Klingon. What a complicated character in just a few scenes. It's like, okay, I want to know more. Firstly, what do his family and parents think about him joining Starfleet in the 32nd century? So attitudes have changed. However, the rest of the people involved in the scene with the Klingon were treating him like a more traditional Klingon. So I want to know more. Why does he want to be a doctor? And he's not a very good doctor. He was very nervous treating the character in the first episode. So there's journey growth there. Sam the hologram, interesting. Maybe could be a little bit irritating. She is the official Data or Spock of the show, learning about these strange customs and attitudes that people have. She's not the grumpy EMH, she's the overly bubbly, friendly kind who just wants to be everyone's friend. That's great for a while. But is she going to go on a journey where she starts to become a little bit more acerbic, where she starts to become a little bit more of a realist? In which case, where does she end up? I don't know where that growth is going. Is it an interesting growth? Well, it's kind of a loss of innocence story. So am I happy about that as a future storyline? I'm not entirely sure. Score that I am going to give the ensemble crew, because I can't really talk about the other characters very much. They are there, but are they on a journey? I'm not sure. That wonderful Jem'Hadar Klingon hybrid person, there's some interesting questions there, but are they going to get full screen time? I somehow think it's going to focus on the cadets. The same with the EMH. He's there for fan love, and because it's cool and funny, and it also makes sense. Total score out of 5, I'm going to give them 3.5. I'm not convinced that I'm going to like many of these characters other than the fact that they're there. Next up is the technical side of things, the execution of the actual show itself in terms of audio, music, direction, visual effects, that kind of stuff, because this is a factor that plays into our overall experience and enjoyment of the show, in my opinion. There's lots of J.J. Abrams lens flaring going on, but not to the excessive point where you actually can't see what's going on. So it definitely has a very bright and shiny style. To the point that my partner pointed out, it kind of feels a bit bright, don't you think? At least there aren't giant fireballs on the bridge, which I really appreciate. Technically, the CGI, I was not impressed by. Discovery had better CGI. Picard had better CGI. That sequence of the Athena landing, I was not impressed with. Unfortunately, I thought it was a little bit rushed or not as polished as it could have been. So there's some questions going on there. Their budget has been spent on their sets rather than on the CGI. The music is, I think, really strong. It is Jeff Russo, who has done a lot of work and is really, really, really good at that kind of stuff. So I can't fault the music. There's some wonderful little callbacks to the motifs. Nothing beats the music for Lower Decks. However, in terms of being completely inclusive of all the different genres and the different eras of Star Trek, but the music is really good. The editing, I think, works really well. One of the things I had an issue with was the audio. We were watching in a dark space. This was our moment to watch the show. And I was struggling with the names. A lot of the times the names were dropped in there super quickly. And I was like, who? What? So that was, for me, a little bit of a downside. Anyway, I'm going to give the total score for the show in terms of execution a solid 3. Final category. This is probably the most subjective one that there is, but this is the must-watch factor. Do you have to watch Starfleet Academy if you are to consider yourself part of the Star Trek fandom? I believe the answer to it is an emphatic yes, you need to watch Starfleet Academy. As a matter of fact, I predict that Starfleet Academy as a series, whether it runs for 1 season or 2 or 3 seasons, doesn't matter. I predict that Academy is going to be the gateway Star Trek series to watch moving forward. It is going to be the series that when people say, oh, I've heard about Star Trek, what should I watch first? Everyone in the future is going to be Star Trek Academy. Go watch Star Trek Academy, then you can watch Star Trek Discovery, and if you're really into your Star Trek, you can then deep dive into the more historical stuff and go and watch Voyager and Next Gen, etc., etc. We have to bear in mind, as much as it pains me, Next Gen, Voyager, DS9, Enterprise, TOS, 30 plus years ago. Imagine if you're trying to get into a new cop show and you get told to go and watch something from the 70s or the 60s. You're going to be going, okay, for funsies, but it's so slow and the effects are so obvious and so bad and boring and the performances are so flat and there's a lot of weird kind of stuff going on that doesn't make sense. The new generation are going to look at Star Trek as the 32nd century. The 24th century is real old history in both the real world and in the Trek timeline. Hence why I think Academy is going to be important. What I prefer for Academy over, say, Discovery is that Academy has gone, you know what, the fans were screaming that we didn't get to see any of our favorite aliens. And it really doesn't hurt them to include a Ferengi or, you know, a Jem'Hadar or a Cardassian. We like those kinds of aliens. We expect those aliens to be there. Don't give us the new stuff. Give us some of the old stuff. And I think that that's what Academy has done. They've gone, you know what? Hey, here's some of the old stuff. We're going to tweak it. We're going to adjust it. I know there's a big outcry over the Betazoids. It's like, why were they not talking with each other telepathically? Where did this weird hand signaling thing come from? Where is this suppression of telepathic or empathic abilities come from? Well, we don't know. It's early days still. We've only just been introduced to the Betazoids in episode 2. We don't know what's going on. There's this telepathic shield around their space. What's up with that? That is where it gets interesting. And so I'm going to give it a 5. Yes, but what is the total score for those of you that haven't been keeping track? Out of 25, Starfleet Academy gets an impressive 17.5. I think that's a really good number, a really good factor, especially considering it's only the first 2 episodes that I am basing this off of. So that is the end of my review process for the show. If there's categories or things that you feel I should add in, please, hey, put them in the comments down below. What would you score each of the 5 different sections? I'd be interested to see your perspective. And I would love to know if you would like me to go back and do this for the other series. And to make it fair, I will base it on season 1 of those series. So bear that in mind. Until next week, when we are looking at the launch of a new book from Modiphius for Star Trek Adventures 2. I'm very excited for this book. This is a must-have book, folks. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, you'll find out next week when we come back to more Off My Bridge. Until we meet again, long life and happy gaming.